ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this another video of another class of Ccna, level 1, chapter 7, which we are going to look at right now. Allow me to first have a word of prayer before we start discussing that chapter 7. My Heavenly Father, King of Glory, we thank you for this particular time as you have gathered us at this time. I know that, Father, many students are trying to look at these videos and they are trying to understand. I know that, Father, they are understanding because of your help. And this time around, Father, I ask you to release the anointing of understanding over this video as it is being made, Father. May the explanation be clear and understood to your children and be able, Father, to use this knowledge that we are going to send to them and not be able to use it anywhere, but let them be able to encourage them or to use them in their careers in the name of Jesus. Father, may your protection be with us. Protect me, give me wisdom and knowledge as I'm going to deliver it to them in the name of Jesus. King of Glory, I thank you, Heavenly, and I bless your holy name in the name of God of Jesus Christ. Amen. Well, yesterday we looked at chapter 6, which was talking about the network layers, and this was chapter level 3 of ISO, and we saw that it always deals with the IP protocol, and we tried to move through. We looked at all how it can be able to communicate and how the devices can be able to utilize that protocol for it to be able to send or maybe to make their end-to-end communication. Then on top of that, again, we have another layer that we call transport layer, whereby we have 7 layers, and also we have 4 layers in TCP IP protocol. So today we are looking at chapter 7, which is practically talking about the transport layer, and we know that always transport layer is divided into a number of protocols that are always used to carry or to complete the end-to-end communication. That is TCP and UDP. TCP, it is transmission control protocol. Transmission control protocol. Whereas UDP is a user datagram. So these protocols we are now in this layer we are going to expand them, and we shall see that in this layer there is those are the protocols that we are particularly going to look at. So look at the chapters, and then we'll look at still the objectives that we expected to achieve at the end of these chapters of ours. So I'll look at a transport layer as a protocol. As I've said before, that transport layer is a layer 4 in OSI, in ISO model, whereas in transport in TCP IP model, it is a layer 2. We can see it's a layer 2 because there are only 4 layers that are there. So it is also inclusive, and the protocols that the transport layer normally uses, they are particularly 2 protocols as we are going to see them down here. So consider the role of a transport layer. What could be the role of this transport layer, and how can we be able to use it? The transport layer is responsible for establishing temporary communication session between 2 applications and delivering data between them. Now, when you look at this session opening, because they are telling us that the purpose or the reasons why we always use the transport layer, or why the transport layer was introduced, it was just because to make a temporary connection. When we come back to OSI, to ISO model, you'll find out that we have what I call the session layer, which is layer 5. This layer 5 is a session layer. This session layer, when you studied, I believe some of you have done certificate at their O level, at their certificate, you have done small computer networks. If you have done small computer networks, I believe that you talked about the functionalities of these 7 layers in ISO. Here, the session layer, it's the one that we know very well, that it opens the session until you 2 parties complete the communication. So again, we are seeing that also the transport layer, it's also doing the same. Are we together? Trying to open up the session to make sure that the end two devices can be able to complete their what? Their communication. So it will remain open until the two parties completes. So the transport layer will also be able to handle that. What protocols are introduced in this? And they're saying the TCP/IP uses two protocols to achieve this. Therefore, when we move again to the model of a TCP/IP, now here the explanation is particularly looking at the TCP, but look at it that even it is the same way that also in ISO also we use the same. So it relies on two. That is what we call transmission control protocol, which you said TCP protocol. Then we have a user datagram protocol. Are we together? So the user datagram protocol, UDP, all these two protocols carry different activities or carry different services or play different services on in the transport layer. So primary responsibilities of a transport layer protocol is this one: tracking the individual communications between the applications on the source and the destination hosts. Are we together? For example, I may be able to click on a web page. A web page, I know that protocol is a web page is found under an application layer. Which application have I requested? I have requested the web page to retrieve a web page, but this web page does not exist in my computer. Only in my computer there is a software that can enable me to connect to the server where I can be able to retrieve a web page. Are we together? That is a server that will be somewhere. I believe you know what is the meaning of the server. So you find out that now it is the work of the transport layer that will be responsible to carry that message and contact. But who is going to contact to carry a message? The protocol that can locate a web server or a web page to be retrieved is HTTP, Hypertext Transfer what? Protocol. It's the one, and then we shall see that the HTTP will be carried inside, and then the transport layer will carry it up to the server, and then the HTTP will point on a web page, and the web page will be retrieved. Again, the web page will be carried by the transport layer to bring it back at the side. That's why it is saying tracking the individual communication. The individual communication. What is the person tending to see? What is the person tending to look at? Someone is going to be sending an email. That is a different application that will be required. Here, a web page, you will be using a protocol called HTTP that retrieves a web page. I'm getting that, but being transported by a TCP protocol, or transport layer. Are we together? Then, when you send an email, you'll be contacting a server of a simple mail transfer protocol. Are we together? Then that is a different application. Then if you're downloading a file, you'll find yourself that now you're using the file what? You're using now FTP. That is a file transfer what? Protocol. So you find out that the tracking of the individual communication will depend on which application that someone is trying to retrieve so that it can be able to connect. Then the work of transport layer will make sure that the source will be able to contact the application. The packet must be traveled from the source to the destination, and again from the destination to the source altogether. So segmenting data for the manageability and responsibility, reassembling segmented data into streams of application data at the destination altogether. In case if the data is too big or might be depending on the communications of the user, you will find that the information or the packet may too be big. Then it will be divided. I'm getting that. That's the technique inside the transport layer to enable it to carry a big or a huge or a complex packet that it could not be able to handle by itself. But because of the mechanism of segmenting a packet, then it enables it to manage each packet and deliver it properly to the destination. And when it reaches the destination, it is its responsibility to reassemble it together so that it can be as if it was the entire packet that was delivered. Identifying the proper applications for each communication stream. So it will be able to identify the applications of each communication stream. The streaming, because you may be using one machine or one device and you find yourself that you have clicked on voice. You want to listen to sound. I think that which is coming from a certain server. That means you are trying to attack or to reach a different server. Are you getting that? As you are there, you want to download maybe graphics, or you want instead to be reading some contents, data altogether, or maybe you'll be doing so. These are three to four services. Then it's the work of the transport layer to make sure that this communication does not interact with each other. Are you getting that? It manages them properly so that it can avoid interactions. So this is what we are trying to show you now in this diagram. When you look at this diagram now, the transport layer is managing this. Someone who can see it is making a call altogether. It is possible for you to make a call at the same time. When you're watching a movie, it doesn't interact with that. Are you getting that? Because there is what we call multiplexing of signals altogether within the network of communication. So you find someone is sending data, someone is communicating as well. So you can see that all these services can be handled by a transport, like Chris has told you, that to be able to make a tracker of that. If we go back to this slide, so identifying the proper applications for each communication stream. So any stream that will be done, it will be able to keep it properly. So have conversations multiplexing. Now, what is multiplexing? Multiplexing is a method or a technique used in networking communications whereby a device or a media is responsible to carry 3 different signals or 4 different signals or different signals. Are you getting that? When I talk of different signals, I mean voice, graphics, or data, or any other signal, depending on the communications of the user. So they are multiplexed. In other words, they are loud. And then because of multiplexing, it makes one single media to carry all these without interfering. Are you getting that? As you have seen that already, transport layer can be able to handle multiplexing without making sure that the communications of each stream is intended to be done when it has not interfered with another one. Are we together? So multiplexing is, we have 2 types of multiplexing. We have frequency division multiplexing, and then we have a time division multiplexing altogether. So frequency division multiplexing, this is when it's a technique used in network communication that will divide the bandwidth into depending on the number of the streaming that are being done. For example, if I'm transmitting voice and graphics, and then I'm using one of the type of the multiplexing, which is FDM, that is the frequency division multiplexing. This will mean that now this one here, it's going to divide the bandwidth that I'm using in that particular link altogether, or of that media that I'm using, depending on the streaming that I'm doing altogether. I may be graphical streaming of video or voice streaming, or might be data. I think that. But remember that all these services, all these signals are different signals. This is a signal of voice, this is a signal of data, this is a signal of a graphic, which are different signals, but being carried by one single media. Now, if they're being carried by one single media, it will mean that now it's the work of this device to divide or transport, to divide the bandwidth of the media into these equal signals, and keeping them so that these signals should not interact with each other or should not affect another one. Am I getting that? So this one, assuming I have might be 3 GB altogether. It means one will be given to this one here to voice, another one will be given to graphics, might be another one will be given to data. But remember, data requires little bandwidth compared to graphics and voice. That means this one can take like 1.2, I get 0.22, I getting that, and then the rest can be divided through these 2 because they are the ones that requires a lot of bandwidth altogether. So that is how the frequency division multiplexing will be working together. When now we are looking at the time multiplexing, it will be now looking at the carrying a different signal. With that one, there will deal with only the analog signals altogether. So the analog signals here will be might be like the voice. Are you getting that? Yes. So something that we, a human being, we can be able to do to look at, and then for it, that is time division multiplexing. Will be only looking at the analog signals. So it provides the means to both sender and receiver data when running the multiple applications altogether. So it will be applied to both the sender and the receiver, because both of them are trying to access or communicate to each other. A header added to each segment to identify it. So headers will be added, and you know that a header always comprises from our previous videos. We have been talking about the header that will comprise either the MAC address, the source MAC address, or the destination MAC address, or it can be the source IP address or the destination IP address. Then you can look at now at an example of a conversation multiplexing, whereby you can be able to communicate. Three services are taking place and being handled at the same time, being conversing with no any challenge. Someone is making a call, another one is streaming video, getting that. The other one is reading messages on the phone. Another one is trying to check for some, or maybe installing some graphics. So others are communicating online, trying to use the emails and doing what. So you see that all this communication, there is instant messaging. We see that all this communication will be taking place at a go on the same device without interfering with each other. So this is the work of transport layer. It creates what I call multiplexing communication or conversation, that where each one where each streaming cannot be able to interact with another one. So conversation multiplexing. So you can see how does it multiplex it, and this is one of the methods that are being used in this. So we shall continue. Transport layer reliabilities. Now, what the transport layer is reliable. Different applications have different transport reliabilities requirements. One, TCP/IP provides two transport layer protocols altogether. So the transport layer is a reliable protocol because it has a number of protocols that it uses altogether. It has two maximum protocols that we'll use, as we had said before, that is TCP and UDP protocols. Then TCP, it provides the reliable delivery, ensuring that all of the data arrives at the destination. I think that, so the TCP will be responsible for any information that is given to it altogether until it is delivered properly at the destination with no any challenge. This is like giving your package to a bus, and the bus, it is the responsibility of the bus, any type of the bus that you have used to make sure that delivers the package or the package that you have given it altogether. In case if it gets lost along the way, it is the bus that will be concerned. Uses acknowledgement delivery and other processes to ensure delivery properly altogether. So it will always acknowledge. In other words, after it has delivered the packet, it will have to inform the source that indeed your packet was properly delivered and has reached. In other words, there is a two-way communications, or maybe what we call overhead communication. So it makes a large demands on the network, more overhead. So the moment it completes one single task, it has reached. It's like a taxi. When a taxi reaches there at the gate and starts looking for passengers, when the taxi is full, you'll not hear it trying to demand for other more passengers until it reaches Kampala, where it is supposed to drop them, and then to stand. These people get out and start going wherever they want. The taxi will remain empty. It will start again. It will submit another demand that please, I need what? Passengers. The same applies to the TCP. According to this, I think that makes a large demand on the network. So it keeps demanding. After it has finished the first task that was given to it, then it will also submit in a demand that I need, in other words, to be ready to request for other more packages to be delivered or transmitted, or other more communication on the network altogether. So UDP, which we are calling our user data datagram protocol, it provides just the basic functions for the delivery. So for it, it's not reliable, no reliability in a UDP. Why? Because for it just does of saying delivering just. For it does not consider, does not verify to check whether the device, whether what is taking is the correct information, does not check where does it go. As long as for it just delivers it where it is supposed to go altogether, then it ends there. It does not make any follow-up, does not acknowledge, so it's not a reliable network. So it is telling it has a less overhead. Therefore, it has less overhead. Getting that? Does not always have that. Then we have a TCP or UDP. There is a trend of between the value of reliability and burden it places on the network. Getting that? So it will have always a trend, a trade-off between the value of the reliability and the burden it places on the network. Are you getting that? So there is a burden that the TCP will always be putting on the network. Are you getting that? By demanding, whereas the UDP will not put any trend for it, does not submit anything, so it will just keep there. So it's a burden to the network, because as the source may not know whether the packet was delivered or not. Application developers chooses the transport protocol based on the requirements of their application. So all those application developers that are coming up with different applications, they make their protocols, their applications depending on transport layer, either TCP or UDP. For example, someone who's dealing with music, you don't expect him to use a TCP protocol, because he knows TCP protocol cannot carry data, that cannot carry packets that cannot delay. Are you getting that? Then UDP is the best for application like voice and then like graphics, whereas a person of data will select a TCP. So application developers chooses the transport protocol based on the requirements of their applications, or depending on what they are developing. So introducing the TCP, you have defined in RFC 793, connection-oriented creates sessions between the source and the destination. So the TCP will always create, it is defined in RFC 793 altogether, and again it is connection-oriented. Connection-oriented means opens up it opens up the source, the session between the source and the destination, until these two parties, as we've said before, that they will continue communicating until they finish up communicating. Are we together? So reliable delivery transmits lost or corrupted data. So for it has a reliable transmissions, even though the data is corrupted or interrupted, it will still be delivered as it is. Are we together? So ordered data reconstructions, numbering, and sequencing of the segments. But remember that when the packet is too big, the protocol will be able to divide or to segment these packets and then to give them numbers. That is the ordered data reconstruction. So it reconstructs the ordered data in order. In other words, after when segmenting this packet, it divides it into a number of frames and then it gives them numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order. So when it reaches at the destination, it will again reassemble them in that sequence manner. So flow control, it will always control the flowing of all these packets as they're moving from different routes, regulates the amount of data transmitted altogether. So it will always regulate the amount of data that is transmitted. Stateful protocol tracks the session. So it is a stateful protocol. Getting that? So it's so full, a stateful protocol, and it will always track the session. In other words, the communication until it ends. So introducing over UDP, that is RF768, connectionless. This is a connectionless. It makes one-way connection, one-way communication. Not reliable delivery, no ordered data. Are you getting that? Whether the data is big, it has no any manageable reconstructions or provided for it on how to see or how it can be able to manage the packet. Are you getting that? In case if it cannot carry the packet, then automatically the packet may be dropped because there is no any order way on how it can do this. Second, as the packet is being moving, there is no flow control. There's no control over the packet. So stateless protocol. So the protocol is stateless. So application that uses a UDP can be the domain name systems altogether, DNS, video streaming, voice over IP. Are you getting that? So those are some applications that will actually be using this as we've been saying. So separating the multiple communication. So you'll see the TCP and UDP user port numbers to differentiate between the applications. Port addressing. So you'll see that these are applications. Every application has its different protocol port that it uses, because in networking we always work with ports together with the with the protocol. So every protocol has its port number that it uses. Look here now, you'll see that we have, for example, HTTP, and the application port number is 80. Then you have the pop-up, the post office 3, version 3 applications. This is under the simple mail transfer protocol. That is a simple mail transfer protocol is responsible for locating an email server. Are you getting that? After locating the email server to put you to the correct email server, after putting you there, then this POP3 will be the protocol now inside the simple mail transfer protocol that will allow you to read your or to download your emails and be able to read them all together. So it uses a port number 110. I'm getting that, means 110. So it will use that port numbers. When you come to this one here, this is instant messaging. We'll be using a port of 531 port and application. I'm getting that. So now these ones here, these applications, these ports will always identify which port number you're using, and then the separations of communication will be done according to the port numbers, because the port numbers are not the same. TCP and UDP are port addressing. So you'll see that now the file transfer client source port number is this. This is for the port number for the client. Now it is sending to the server, and the server is 21. Are you getting that? Web client server port, its port number is this, 1099. It is coming to a server port 80. I think that. So this is how you can be able to identify or separate the port numbers from each other. So we have TCP and UDP port addressing. We have port number range and then port groups. So we have 0 to 1023. Those are port numbers that are the port number range. We have 1024 to 49151 altogether. That is a port number range, and those ones we call them registered ports, whereas these ones we call them well-known or contact ports. Are you getting that? They are well-known and they are always contact what? Then we have 49152 to 65533. This is private and or dynamic ports. They are private what? Ports. So these are some ports that we are going to be using, because when a device is communicating, for it is not assigned to any port, but it uses a random selections of what? Of ports for it to generate a port by itself. For example, like this port you have seen here, 1305. Are you getting that? 1099. So these ports are just selected randomly. That's why they're giving you a range of registered ports, well-known ports, and maybe registered ports you can see in this. They are inside these ones here. So registered TCP ports are these ones. We have 1863, 2880, 808, and then 8008, then 880. Are getting that? So these are Cisco, SCCP, voice over IP, alternative of HTTP, alternative of HTTP. Are getting that? So all these ports are using HTTP. Then well-known TCP ports will be this 21, that is FTP, 23 Telnet, 25 simple mail transfer, 80 HTTP, and then the 110, that is POP3, 194 Internet Relay, Chat, IRC, then 443, that's the source HTTP or HTTPS. I think that. So these are the ports, when you're doing the configuration, that these are the ports that we shall be using for us to separate the TCP protocols or the transport protocols when you are depending on the applications that you are configuring. So registered ports of the UDP ports will have it 8T12 RDS authentications protocol. We have 5004 TP voice and video transport protocol. Then you have 5410 voice over IP. Then registered TCP stroke UDP. These are common using by two can be used by TCP and used by UDP. So in this case now here you need to be careful, more especially of security purposes. Are you getting that? Yes, the reason why they are storing them because these are Microsoft SQL servers and this is WAMP. Are you getting that? Now when you see that the packet is here for security purposes, here you need to be careful, more especially this is a registered port. Then it means for the security, when we are implementing security, we need to translate 1433, which is a Microsoft SQL server altogether. We translate this known port to a different port so that in case if someone attacks this, he cannot be able to get what we do what, and that's how we normally make our security as we shall be seeing in the future. Well-known UDP ports, we have 69, which is TFTP, and then we have 520, that is RIP altogether. Well-known TCP and UDP, common of them, they are using two, that is 53, which is a DNS, 161, a simple network management protocol, and then 531, instant messaging IRC. These are the ones that are common, are using both. For this, you have to be careful of this and this. And these are common protocols that we normally use. DNS is common protocol. Simple network management protocol is also a very common protocol that is actually used for monitoring devices in security servers. So we need all these ones here. WAP server, we shall need it. Microsoft SQL server, we shall use it. Are you getting that? So you find that all these protocols, anyone who stepped in a class of networking must be knowing all these protocols. Therefore, for you to protect your company, you must be translate these ports so that these ports should not be seen outside for people to attack your company. We have TCP and UDP port addressing. NetStat. NetStat is used to examine the TCP connections that are open and running on the networked host. So the NetStat will be also trying to look at how many connections are active on our what? On our network. And this will be tracing the route depending on the ranges of the administrative routers that we have. TCP/UDP segmentations, the transport layer divides the data into pieces and adds a header for delivery over the network. Are you getting that? This one we have been saying it that always it will always be adding a header depending on which protocol has been used to transmit a packet. So an application layer data, you have PC1, PC2, PC3, and then a UDP datagram or a TCP datagram. So the header will be added to every packet, depending or showing which packet, which protocol was used to transmit this. Are we together? So we have the TCP and UDP, these ones we have sent. So TCP server processes request destination port number. So you see that the request will be done. For example, have a client 1, and this is a server, and then you have a client 2 here. Then communications are done. Remember, in our first in chapter 1, we said that multiple services can be put on one server as long as the company is still young or is still small or its capacity is not yet big. Are you getting that? So here you can see that this server that we have, it is serving us with 2 services. One, it is working as a web server, and again it is working as an email server. Are you getting that? So those are 2 services that in other words you can be able to retrieve a web page, and again you can be able to download our emails from the server. So you see that now this client 1 is communicating HTTP request. That is HTTP request, meaning that it can request for the web page altogether. The source port number of this client is 19152. I get 49152. I get that destination port number is 80. That is a known port, which exactly is the HTTP altogether. So it is retrieving, I can say it is retrieving a web page from the server altogether. So it is targeting, it's showing where am I going altogether. So it will reach there. And then when you look at this one here, client 2, for it is making a request, SMTP request, and the source port number is 51152. This is the request for the device. which it picks by default. Are you getting that? Randomly selecting numbers from those private registered numbers. Are you getting that? So whereas the other one has well-known number, which is a 25 what? 25 port, and this is a simple mail transfer what? Protocol, which is an email server altogether. So this client here is attacking or is making a request to an email server, whereas this client one is making a request to a web server. Are you getting that? So you'll see that use the well-known port numbers as the destination port. Are you getting that? So the destination ports are using well-known numbers. Now the clients are using registered numbers. Are you getting that? If you come back here, you'll see these things. I think this, it lies in between here, registered port numbers. Those are registered port numbers. Now the other one are using well-known numbers, which is from 0 to 1023. Are you getting that? So you'll see that now these ones here, they'll be able to communicate properly with no any problem, but the services are always on one. So the TCP server processes, it will process this now. When this one reaches, it will be processed a user random port number. I told you that is selected by random, and you can see here that now they are telling us that a source port number, this is a source and this is a source. It's always selected by random. A user random port number as the source port. You're getting that? So this is a random number that is selected from from the registered ports. Are you getting that? So now it will send now the request to it, and the communication shall see it now. So the TCP connection establishment and terminations, the three-way handshake will be done. 3 ways will be done in communication. Establishes that the destination's device is present on the network. It must first know that the network, the destination, is it present on the network or not, because it is possible for you to communicate to a device when it is not what? It's not on. That's 1. 2, verifies that the destination devices has an active service and is accepting a request on the destination port number that the initiating client tends to use for the session. Are you getting that? Now, as you send a request, you are trying to establish a route or a connections between the destination, whether to allow you to communicate to you or not. I want you to look at it at this example. It is possible to call your friend and tells you, please, I want to come and meet you or to find you to communicate to you, and he tells you, no, I'm not ready to listen to you. Are we together? That is refusing. That means he's not ready to receive you. He's not ready to answer your call. It's like calling a person, and then a person, the phone rings, and he does not respond or click a button or receiving your call. That means he's not ready to initiate or to open up connections between you and him. But when you are ready, then the destination and the source, the destination will receive your call, and then automatically the initiations or the communications will be initiated altogether. That means he has accepted your communication. Informs the destination devices that the source client intends to establish. So this hello message will always try to inform the destination that the source want to communicate to it, or that you want to communicate to make establishment or to continue communicating with the destination or to communicate. Are we together? So the TCP 3-way handshake, step 1. The initiating client requests a client to server communication sessions between the server. Altogether. So the initiation is in between a client and what? And a server. Here we are doing it like this. This is because always we know that is a client that sends a request to the server, like what we have just been doing there. So it always sends initiations to make a server to open a session for it to continue altogether. Then step 2, the server acknowledges the client to a server. It's not possible for the server to just respond to every message that might be comes from any, as long as it is coming from the network. It is the responsibility of the server to first verify whether the device that is requesting does it intend to receive what has requested, or it's not supposed to receive it. Are you getting that? So it have to make verifications after doing that, acknowledging, and then be able to tell that yes, probably you accepted or your request is granted, you can continue to retrieve or to get what you want. 3. Initiating a client knowledges the server to client communication session. So the server will have to respond to the client, trying to tell what is supposed to be that the communication is granted. So this is now two communications being done on these two devices. Device A and B, they are communicating. Send, you send, and then receive. Receiving, you acknowledge. Acknowledging, you send. Are getting that? And then you acknowledge. 4 packets will be sent. Are we together? Yes, 4 packets will be sent because this one will send and then say I'm requesting this. This one said, okay, fine. The establishment is done. That is done by the TCP. And then this one will send now the packet at your device, because what you should know that a TCP transport layer, more special TCP protocol, it always sends a message, a hello message, before the packet is sent or before the real message is sent. Are getting that? It first says, hello, so and so. If you are present, then you respond. That is one-way communication, and then the server or either destination responds. When it responds, that message was not the real information that you are sending. You are trying to, the TCP was trying to establish the route between the other. Those are the 3 handshake that I told you up there, whereby it makes initiations to open up a conversation. It's like, for example, you can't go and visit someone without informing that person that you are going to talk to or you are going to visit him. Because if you just move from your house and go to the person without informing him, the chances are high for you to reach there and find that the person is not what? Is not present. That means you need to first inform him. Are getting that? So you may reach and find he's not there. But what the best way is you to first call him or send him a message that on such and such a day or at such a time I shall be able to come and visit you, so that he can be ready for you and he can expect you altogether. But if you don't, then you can find the place when it is empty. So that is why the TCP protocol just first makes the establishment between the source and the destination by sending a hello message before the real information is delivered. Then when the route is established, that's when it will communicate. Now look at it. If I'm sending a hello message, that's one communication. The destination responds to me that yes sir, I'm around, I'm okay. Are you getting that? That's like calling you, Mr. So and so. Then you respond. As you respond, I'll know that you are there. In case if I want to talk to you or if I want to pass a message to you, then I'll start talking or narrating a story that I want to tell you. But after you have responded to me and I get to know that you are present. Are you getting that? Now when I make a hello message, is responded, those are 2 communications that are done. Are you getting that? In the way of establishing a route. Then I send the real message now. As I'm sending the real message, it goes. And also you respond that I have done what? Received. Those are 4 packets that are sent. That's why when you go to the command prompt and then try to enter the ping command, trying to call a device, it sends the 4 packets to verify that the devices are what? Are present. So TCP reliability order delivery. The sequence numbers are used to reassemble the segments into their original orders. So this is when the packet has been divided depending on how big it was and is being carried by a transport layer, which is responsible for the packet that is put on it, and then it makes even the delivering properly. It have to manage the source and also the destination as well. So acknowledgement and window size. The sequence number and the acknowledgement numbers are used together to confirm the recipient. Are you getting that? So when a message is sent, we expect an acknowledgement to confirm to us that indeed the message has been delivered. Now the window size, this is the amount of data that can be able to be displayed or can be received by a specific device. So the window size is the amount of data that the source can transmit before an acknowledgement must be received. Are you getting that? So the amount, what can you be able to get or to hold before that. So the window size and the acknowledgement will be done, and then to look at this. So this is the same that what we looked at in this part here. Are you getting that? So it is the same as this one here. All together. So the window size determines the number of bits sent before an acknowledgement. Are you getting that? Yes, because you may send more than what I cannot be able to hold. Are you getting that? So that's why you have to look at the window size, and this is trying to show you the number of bits that can be sent and received. Are you getting that? Depending on the device that you are communicating. Look at it in this way, that if someone sends a message maybe from the computer, he may write as many as he can, and then when you are sending it to a phone is very small, it has a very small, might be window size. Are you getting that? Then it means you are going to receive this message in bits. Are you getting that? And I hope you guys have ever received such a communication whereby a message flow in, and after flowing in, as you are there still reading that content, another one comes in. As that one is being read, another one comes in. It means it was a chime on it, and the window size, the whole of it could not be delivered at the same time because of the window size. I think that. So it is delivering bits per bit depending on the window size. And that's why they're saying you have to first check the window size. This TCP flow control, the congestion avoidance will be done. That is now to find out that if the segments are lost because of the congestion, the receiver will acknowledge the last received sequential segments and reply with the reduced window size altogether. So this is now when you are receiving them in bits. You may receive them in bits because remember these packets will be passing from different routes. So number 6 may reach faster than number 2. Are you getting that? Yes. So it will be receiving them, and then it will give depending on what, it will acknowledge depending on what has done what it has received. So TCP reliability acknowledgement. So here we are still looking at the acknowledgement, and these, as I told you, that already 4 packets will be sent, and these are the ones that you are trying to see moving up and down for this. So UDP, low overhead versus reliability. UDP, a simple protocol that provides the basic transport layer functions. It will provide it is a simple protocol that will provide the basic transport layer functions. Are you getting that? It just only provides the basics of delivering. Are you getting that? Those basic functions does not give a lot, doesn't have other more functionalities. It's work. What do you need? I need delivering. Okay, fine. It carries the packet and then it takes it where you need it. Full stop. It doesn't matter, doesn't mind what will happen on the packet, doesn't look at the data flow, does not look at the flow control, does not look at packet being segmented, how big it is, does not look at any other thing, whether it is the right packet to be delivered or to be received at the other side. So all those, its work is just to do the basic. What a basic. You need the food, yes, have food. I'm getting that. So you cannot verify whether the person you're giving food, does he eat such a type of food? Does he require to have to get that food? Is he really the right person to receive that? So all those considerations, the UDP does not look at them. Used by the applications that can tolerate small loss of data. I'm getting that. So it will be used by some packets or some applications that can tolerate some loss of data. For example, like voice, getting that, and then graphics, and even DNS, and even others, as you are seeing them down here. So used by the application that cannot tolerate delay. So here there is no a lot of delay. I'm getting that, because that's why voice does not delay, graphics does not delay, and even other simple activities does not want to delay. Used by the DNS, a simple network management protocol, SNMP, the dynamic host configuration protocol, DHCP, then travel file transfer protocol, TFTP, and then IP, telephonic or voice over IP, then online games. Getting that? These are the users of the protocol. Datagram reassembly. Different datagram may take different routes. That is when now a packet has also become big, and then it can be probably segmented and then to be able to manage it or to resend it, to send it over the network. So it can be done in it. So we have a UDP server and the client processes. They are processing. You can also see that we have client 1, we have a client 2. You'll see the source port number, which will be also selected randomly. And then you have a port number which is known, 53, which is a DNS port number. And then you have a destination which is 1812, which is the radius port number. And now this one here is going to send a message. A UDP-based server applications are assigned a well-known or a registered port number. That one already we have seen. This is the same thing that we did with the TCP. So UDP client processes randomly selects a port number from the range of dynamic ports numbers as the source port. Are you getting that? So we expect that. And now you'll see the applications that uses the TCP. So application that uses TCP, you can see these applications cannot transmit any packet without the use of a TCP. Are you getting that? A TCP delivers a packet or picks a packet depending on the IP addresses. Are we together? These are the packets. These are the ones that they are protocols that locates the servers, these ones. Whereas this is a protocol that transmits the packet depending on the request of the user. And then the packet is delivered on the idea or the name. Are we together? Remember, these ones, I will call them the source. Are you getting that? A message compiled by a source. Are we together? If I click on a web page on my device, that means I'm requesting a web page from the server. Are we together? And what am I sending? I'm sending HTTP protocol to retrieve a web page for me. But remember, a web HTTP cannot be able to transmit itself. Are we together? As I click like this, that is now compelling a message. And this message, I'm becoming the source who requests a web page from the server. So the server is the destination. So it means my packet must have the source IP address, because the TCP protocol that is going to transmit a packet carrying HTTP inside, which is going to locate a web page on my web server. Are you getting that? Will be inside there, but under which protocol that the TCP will carry it, or under which ID it will carry it, under the ID of IP what? IP protocol. Are you getting that? Then that is the source IP address, and then which server should it contact? It will also be having an IP address. That means to have a source IP address and a destination IP address. Are we together? Then the transmission will be done. Now the TCP will carry the packet depending on these two. It knows the source by using the IP address, and then it will take it to the right server depending on the IP address. When it reaches on the server depending on the IP address, the HTTP locates the server and then tells the web page to be retrieved. And now the web page again will be transmitted, coming from the destination to the source. And then you see the web page appearing on your word. So these ones here, you see them, they are protocols. They are becoming like luggages. If I'm to use the live example, like when probably you are traveling, going to Kampala, and then you're having a bag, of which that bag or the luggage you're carrying is going somewhere in Kampala altogether. That means you'll carry your bag. This is HTTP. HTTP is you now, who knows where the bagger goes, but the bagger doesn't know where it goes. Are you getting that? As you are carrying the bag with you, you can't transmit yourself from here to Kampala. You'll wait for the taxi and the board or either bus and taken to Kampala. You are the HTTP. The bag is the web page, which is going to be retrieved by you. Are you getting that? Now, when you reach Kampala, it's you who knows where the bag goes. So you press the bag. Are you getting that? Then, or you tell that they need, this is the message, needs a web page. Or collected this one. Then again, you board a vehicle and come back. So when you look at that simple example that I'm giving you, it's exactly that these protocols does. So this protocol becomes that very person who knows where the package is going. Are you getting that? That's now HTTP. Are we together? The TCP, its work is a bus. That's a taxi. It will take you to the tax park. That is might be old tax park or new tax park. It puts you there, but doesn't know exactly where you go. All together, it doesn't know exactly where you go. All together, its work is to put you there. Where you are going, Kampala. Okay, where are you going? To the web server. It takes you to the web server. But now it doesn't know which do you need from the web server. Are you getting that? It's you now, the HTTP, who is now you a person who goes and then might be you buy cosmetics in Kampala, and then again you come back and board, and then bring you back. But how will the TCP be directed properly to reach where you're going? It's the IP address. Because for it to use IP address, that means it must be having the destination IP address so that it can put you to the correct destination. If you give it a wrong, then automatically it will take you to a wrong what? I hope we are together. So when you'll see that these are the protocols that depends on a TCP protocol. In other words, their delivering tolerates the delay altogether. They tolerate delay because TCP makes verifications. It needs information for it to use and be able to deliver the packet. When you come to the applications that uses a UDP, you'll find out that the DHCP, DNS, Simple Mail, and all these ones here are using a UDP. These ones here does not tolerate a single delay, but they tolerate a small loss of data. Altogether, they work the same as we have done. For them to also to deliver a packet, they will still need the source IP address and also the destination IP address. The same way here, only that here there is no verifications, a lot of verifications, there's not a lot of considerations and doing what, no. But the procedures and the examples that I've just given you guys, it is the same. So that marks the summary, the end of this chapter of ours. Unless if you guys have a question, you are free to send it either on our comment on YouTube, or either you can send it in the message through our Cisco website. Otherwise, thank you for listening. This is what we can be able to look at today, and let's end here for now.